Got my cologne. You know how that works. Just, I'm feeling good that night.
I spoon between these two Australian men who know each other.
She took it, and she looked at me, and she went in to give me a kiss, and I fucking bolted. I panicked. I don't know what the hell to do with that.
And like Leah pushing me against the brick pillar and going, "Who is it? Who's your girlfriend?" And I was like, "It's you, okay?"
Imagine if Scarface wasn't about a drug dealer, but it was about a surgeon. That was my dad, right? He'd be like, "Say hello to my little friend." Scalpel.
Night gowns. What do you call those? Whatever they are. Evening gowns, thank you. And they are gorgeous. And I am a super friendly guy.
And like, I barely like my tongue in my own mouth. Why do I want to put it in somebody else's mouth?
Sometimes they have a partner and the partner comes in and chops their head off. And that's what this breakup was like.
5 years. There are times that I think about Madison Story Slam and I simply can't believe it's been 5 years. I will often think of the first stories told at Madison Story Slam. For instance, there's a great story that's on one of our best of CDs called Finger Bang, and that's usually one of the early ones that I think of. And I'm just astonished that that was 5 years ago. I think about our early days at Johnson Public House, starting with a core group of 20 or so people showing up the last Friday of each month. More storytellers in the audience than listeners. Then I think of our last event held at Johnson Public House with a capacity of 49 people, and I remember doing the count halfway through and writing down 130 as the total number in attendance, just 5 years ago. I remember our very first Story Slam here at the Wilmar Center. We had to have it in the youth room downstairs. Was anybody here for that? Couple of people. And we were packed. We had PBR and a microphone plugged into an old PV bass guitar amp that I stole from my dad's church for the night. The theme was worst job. I remember that Lindsay Leno, Ashley? Lindsay Leno, I think is her name. I remember. She's the owner of Upshift Swap Shop. She sponsored that first event by buying the PBR for us. I remember my best friend Ian helped card people and sell raffle tickets at the door. I remember everything about that night. And I can't believe that was 5 years ago. It seems like yesterday. But time is a funny thing. When I think of the stories, the logistics, the work that me and Ashley have put in, the sweat, the editing, the promoting, all of it, it's very quick. It's like a snap of my fingers or a blink of an eye. But when I think of you, when I think of the countless friendships that have started here, when I think of the not one but two marriages that Story Slam has under its belt, when I think of the faces I see time and time again, month after month, I think it's only been 5 years. When I think of the joy and laughter, the embarrassment, the tears that have brought closure and healing shared from this stage, when I think of the moments that people have walked up here, ripped their chest open and said, "This is me, please tell me I'm not alone." When I think of the magic and mystery of what Madison Story Slam and storytelling in general has done in my life, and when I think of the lives of some of you who I know have been touched in the same way, when I think about how we have been bonded and connected together by this thing, these people, their stories, this community that we have built, it's only been 5 years. I have lived a lifetime of joy and sorrow with you in this community. Ashley and I are so grateful for all the countless ways we have been touched by you, storytellers and story listeners. And I am so grateful that for 5 years you have entrusted me to help lead this community. It's only been 5 years, but there's already been so much. And I stand in the belief that there's so much more to come. Okay. Now, just a really quick thanks to a few people. Greg White for starting JPH Story Slam and then leaving so that I could start hosting it. Big thanks to Johnson Public House, Gwen, Kyle, Ian Floater, and Lennon Baker. The Wilmar Center and the staff here, Gary, Beatrice, Stassi, John Malezova and everyone at State Line Distillery for giving us last year our second home. We do a second event every month at State Line Distillery now. Thank you to them. Thank you to Rabinia Courtyard, who has also hosted us several times. Again, thank you to Ale Asylum, specifically Hathaway Dilba at Ale Asylum. Thank you to Resolution Health Collaborative and my dear friend Andrea Kieproth, who actually, through Resolution, they sponsored us by giving us $1,000 to get our first set of t-shirts and sweatshirts. We do have a bunch of t-shirts and maybe I have one sweatshirt left. All of our merch tonight is just $5. So if you want a CD, if you want a t-shirt, if you want a sweatshirt, they're $5. I think all we have left are extra large sizes, just so you're aware. So them at Resolution, Jen Rubin and The Moth in general. I was very concerned when The Moth came to town. I thought we were going to get murdered and like our event would die. And then I was being interviewed by a reporter and I expressed that it was about storytelling and I expressed that and they said, "You don't think that by The Moth coming to town that all ships will rise in high tide?" And I went, huh. And that has very much proven to be true. I had also never heard that expression before. So big thanks to Jen Rubin and The Moth. Dave Babler and Trent Otteson, who have done every bit of graphic design at Story Slam that we've had, often at no fee. They don't want me to pay them. I think I still owe Dave some money. Dave, it's coming. Big Dave, who is my father, for helping and supporting and being awesome. Love you, Ben. And Stephanie, Willie, and Don Means, who were regulars for a very long time and then moved away and ripped my heart out. Another big thank you to this group of people who I refer to as... So I tell people all the time from the stage, if you don't know, I'm a pastor's kid and grew up in church, and that was my sense of community. That's where community came from. But I say very often from this stage that Story Slam is more church to me than church has ever been to me. There's real community here that I never felt at church. So I very often relate Story Slam to church. When I'm making decisions, I think, how would my dad have handled this if this was Prairie Creek? So I refer to these people as the elders of Story Slam. And they're just people that have been here and been constant and people I can lean on and trust and go to with advice or for advice when something's going on at Story Slam. So those people, big thanks to Matt Greenberg, Dan and Nancy Floater, Mel Hammond, Zachary Shea, Jessica Regan, Marty the Meat Man Sosnowski, and Tom Schmidt. Yes, give a round of applause for all those people. I promise this is almost done. And every person who has told a story here. And finally, my wife, Ashley, for believing in this thing enough to come every month and help run the show.